Okay, I had another question. A student asked me is how do I play louder in the upper register? Like they're getting to the point where they can play F's and G's above high C. But they say, well, Mr. Williams, it's a mosquito. I can play the note, but I can't get any volume. And I said, well, it's not necessarily volume, it's resonance. You need more vibration. As my teacher would tell me, you get the high note coming out, but the high note is just coming out right here on this part of the bell. It's not vibrating the whole bell. So the first thing is to get your brain to think, I just don't want to vibrate one small part of the bell. I want the whole thing to vibrate. And that's the subconscious thing we want to let happen. Now, the mechanical aspect, usually what happens is when we're in the upper register and we can't get the volume, is that our aperture is not the right size. We might have the aperture at the right size and intensity to get the note, but not the volume. So there's a couple things we can do. One is, of course, open the aperture. And the first thing that happens, especially when I was learning how to do this, is now all of a sudden I lost the note. The note doesn't come out. The next thing to do is to manipulate the tongue. And what I found out is actually in the back of the tongue is to drop it slightly to increase the volume of air that comes in. Now, when you do that, you've got to pick up the intensity somewhere else, and that's usually down here in the core area, and it's to put more compression down here, like a down lower. So if you're changing the tongue position, you've now got to increase the pressure somewhere else. One way some do it, and I'm not a big fan of it, is to increase the mouthpiece pressure. Because when you increase the mouthpiece pressure, the mouthpiece comes against the lips. The lips will then spread, of course, and you will get more volume, but it's basically a one-trick pony. You're going to get one or two times out, and then the blood's not circulating through your lips, and now your chops are dead for hours or the day or whatever. Another thing you can do is jaw. Is to think of your jaw as kind of a rudder and to play with your jaw position. Maybe if you can't get the aperture to open up just enough, just drop the jaw ever so slightly. And that could increase it as well. Another one I found from a student of mine years ago, he had just gotten his braces off and he was kind of playing with an idea, and he was imagining that his top teeth were like reeds in a saxophone, and he was blowing across those reeds, and he was trying to get these top teeth to kind of almost tickle or vibrate. And in doing so, his upper register got fuller and bigger. And of course, I'm a big fan of having an image, like some kind of mental picture to focus on, because then that allows your subconscious to take care of everything. Because in his case, if he's imagining the reeds of his teeth vibrating, that means the tongue's doing what it needs to do, the aperture's doing, it's all taken care of subconsciously. So these are some ideas to play with. When doing it, I recommend using a mute of some sort. Put a mute in and get that mute to vibrate. And if you can get that mute to vibrate, you're going to learn what that resistance does, so that when you take the mute out, you try to imitate it, and then all of a sudden your sound goes real big. And I always say, don't try to do this on the highest note you can possibly play. If your highest note is an F above high C, okay, don't try this yet on that note. Go down a third. Go to, a D. All right, if you're feeling real good, maybe an E flat. And work on that. Once you get that sound to come out, all right, then go up a half step and do that. Then eventually that F, which is your highest note, will come out big and fuller, and the F won't be your top note anymore. It'll be an F sharp or a G. Okay? So I hope that helps, guys. If you have any questions, let me know.